just imagine that you're a platform that's an octagon, and this platform has 8 engines: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you've got these 8 different angles here. And if each one of those is an engine, then your platform will be balanced. You actually will be straight up and going up, 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 and you can break through all the things that are in your way. Get up in the morning and roll.
Welcome, everyone. This is Dr. Mercola helping you take control of your health. And today I have got an unbelievable treat for you, something that I typically don't do. It's a topic we haven't frequently or hardly ever explored in the past. But with the impending technocratic global tyranny on board and all the challenges we're experiencing, I thought it was the perfect time to introduce one of the greatest resources I've ever had, and that is Dr. Barry Morguelan, who is fondly known, or AKA Dr. B. So that we probably will be referring to him as that during this program. And he is a board certified physician, MD physician, gastroenterologist from UCLA, who for the last 3 decades has had a passionate desire to understand what causes disease, and more importantly, what strategies, interventions can be implemented to overcome that disease so that you're treating the foundational cause of the problem. Traveled all over the world, so many different countries. And he finally wound up in China and nearly got killed learning this ancient Chinese tradition that's literally thousands and thousands of years old. He is, as far as we know, he's the only American Grandmaster. He's learned these techniques and he's brought him back to America. And that's a very short, abbreviated description of his journey. There was a much longer one that he did with 𝑬𝒏𝒆𝒄𝒄𝒆𝒔𝒔 about 3 years ago, and we're going to embed that interview in the article that's associated with this video. So please watch that. And it's really important to me because that's how I first heard about him. And I trust and value Dave's insights, and he validated Dr. B for me. And because of that validation, I was able to recognize that there might be some value in it for me personally. Now, to give you this interview is going to be a little bit different because it's really important, I believe, that I give you some personal context, personal information I really haven't ever shared publicly before. But I think it's important to do this to frame what we're going to talk about in this context. So in 1995, I was married. First time, I've only been married once. I was married very briefly. It was less than a year, to a wonderful physician from Canada. And the marriage didn't last very long. I said less than a year. And it was largely a result of my inability to be involved because I was celibate. I hadn't even dated for 15 years prior to that, after an experience I had in medical school. So I wasn't prepared for that. And I was a workaholic, obsessive compulsive, and the marriage failed miserably. And I was an evangelical Christian for many years prior to that. And so I felt that I not only failed my marriage, but I failed my spiritual community. It was a failure to God. And it was just devastated. I was suicidally depressed. I lost 30 pounds. And it was just one of the worst experiences I've had in my life. The only thing that comes close was when my mom passed. But even that might have been more severe. It was just awful. So, but you think that's really bad. Oh, I feel so sorry for you. Well, don't, because it was one of the best things that ever happened in my life. And you're saying, why? Because it catalyzed a transformation. And it started me down a journey of studying personal development. And I've been down that path and I've learned a lot of information. And literally, you need to understand that it was that journey that really catalyzed the growth of this website that I put together in 1997, because it was 2 years after my divorce. So I've got a grounding in a lot of personal development work. People like Napoleon Hill, one of his disciples, W. Clement Stone, Brian Tracy, Jim Rohn, all these other people. In fact, I used to listen to these tapes. I was one of Nightingale Conant's best customers. I bought thousands of tapes and I would listen to them when I would run. So because I was, trying to be time efficient, and I would just learn so much information and perspective that really helped me a lot. And I was able to achieve a certain level of success with that. So fast forward about 20 years, and I'd seen Dave's video interview with Dr. B and was intrigued. And actually, when I went to Dave's conference in April of 2019, the Biohacking of Beverly Hills Hilton, Dr. B was one of the lecturers, and I clearly put in my plan to listen to him. And I said, I'm going to watch his lecture. But I got so busy because I love his event. I just wanted to see the exhibitors. I never went there. But I went to the event of the lecture of one of my good friends, Tyler the Baron, who I've interviewed a few times. I really love that guy. And so I went, and at the end of the lecture, I'm standing up in the back of the room. And then the lecture's over. And then this man on the right side of me stands up and turns around. And he hugs me, and it was Dr. B. It's like, this is what a classic example and illustration of something that Dr. B has this set of characteristics that we'll talk about in a bit. It's called the Great Eight. And one of those Great Eight is serendipity on command. And that was absolute serendipity. And I've been with him ever since I started his program. So it's been a little bit of almost exactly 2 years since I've been doing his work. And I've got to admit to you that he developed this coursework. It's called Energy for Success, sometimes abbreviated as EFS, that I believe he's had over 70,000 people participate in. And I initially was interested because of the benefits on anti-aging. And that's one of my passions is to optimize aging and longevity. So that was the initial catalyst for it. But I entered his work with quite a bit of skepticism. And it was interesting in that I was skeptical. It took me, I refused to interview someone for this my site unless I'm absolutely convinced that it works. And that's why it took so long before to get him on, because I still wasn't convinced. Even till this year, I wasn't convinced. It was like we're coming close to over 18 months until I started understanding the program better and applying some of the principles more and getting unbelievable wins in my life that made me absolutely 100% confident that this indeed works. No question in my mind. And it works for some not exotic reasons, but it works for very simple principles. It follows laws of natural laws, the laws of nature, very similar to the law of gravity. Now, you can not believe the law of gravity, you can deny it that it exists, but it doesn't matter. It's there and it's real. And if you choose to understand that law and work within its structure, you can benefit from it. If you choose to ignore it and you think you can walk off a roof, good luck. You're going to have some problems with that. So it works for very similar principles that are related to that. And I know in spades that this program works, and we'll share some of my examples, not all of them because there's can't for some security reasons, but no question it works. So what is this program? We're going to go into five of the most important characteristics that I've identified in it, and I'm going to let Dr. B take over and discuss this. But I also wanted to let you know that he's been gracious enough. This is the very first time he's ever allowed this to happen. I'm a client of his, by the way, so just a full disclosure and conflict of interest, but I don't get any referrals or commissions or anything on this. I'm just doing this because I believe in the deepest part of my being that this work can help so many of you out there. And to prove that to you, he's been kind enough to allow me to embed or put links to 2 videos in one of the most powerful courses that I've watched. They're video courses. They're an hour each. And they're so valuable that you need to watch them, not on fast speed, but on normal speed, and watch them 3 times each to get the full benefit, because it will change your life. There is no way it cannot change your life. And I chose these because they really expand on some of the 5 characteristics of the program that we're going to discuss. So I, again, apologize for the abnormally long introduction, but I thought the framing was important to put the context of this, because Dr. B, I could talk to him for literally 5 or 10 hours and you would be just amazed at what you would learn. But obviously we don't have that time. And that's why I've extended some of the information so you can have like 5 hours of Dr. B on this page. The first thing we're going to talk about, because one of the most foundational parts of his program is helping you understand that there are 2 primary forces in nature that he describes them as the matrix, which is very similar to the matrix in the movie. He's going to discuss this further. And then the energy. And this is not some mystical, magical energy. It's something that's very real that follows the law of physics. So with all of that introduction, I am so pleased to introduce Dr. B.
Thank you for having me. I'm so, ready to for your audience, whatever and in any way that could benefit them, because I've worked with people, over 30 years using these techniques, and I just wouldn't bring them out like Newton wouldn't bring out his, physics for almost 15 years, because the world, has always been a place where they weren't ready to just gap up and automatically experience yourself that you can break the 4-minute mile. Whereas if you think about the guy who broke the 4-minute mile, people go, oh, that's fantastic. But before that, there's even written in books, medical books, that you can't break the 4-minute. It's just the human body doesn't do that. And then when the gentleman from England broke the 4-minute mile, everybody was like, wow, that's great.
He was a physician too. Roger Bannister was a physician.
Yeah. And within like less than 2 months, there was people breaking the 4-minute mile all over the world. And everybody's going, great, great. But the point is, what did those people access after Bannister broke the 4-minute mile that they hadn't accessed before? Otherwise, they would have broken it before him. So the point is that you have capacities within you. And this is what I learned when I was in China for all these years, back and forth, at the same time running my surgical endoscopic practices here. I have 2 practices in Los Angeles. I've been working, over 30 years, still doing surgeries up until just a year ago, every day, and teaching these techniques, which we now have out for anyone, no matter what your age group is, that you can incorporate and then not only breathe better, think better, but actually function better each day. And that's what surprises people, because everything in the news is about how hard life is, how difficult. But once you find out, just like with Roger Bannister, that, wait a minute, the human body can break a 4-minute mile, and I've been practicing all this time. Maybe I've got it within me. It's not a positive thinking thing. It's a access of vibration. And what these techniques are going to allow you to do is to access that vibration, similar to the Roger Bannister, or if you ever learned how to ride a 2-wheeler. Before you ride a 2-wheeler, I can't do it. I'm upset. I'm thinking of a little girl I was working with just a week ago. And she said, my mom sent me to you because I'm so afraid of riding this bike, and I should be able to ride a bike, but I can't because I've skinned my knee, and I really don't want to ride a bike at all, but I'm going to do it with you, doc, just to prove it to her that I can't ride a bike. And I went, okay, great. So I said, first thing is, you're not going to fall. And she said, what? I said, I'm going to hold the back of your seat. She said, are you going to let go? I said, never. I'm never going to let go until you tell me to. She says, the whole time you can run that fast? I said, no problem. So I held the back of her seat, and she's riding. But the whole time before we started, I taught her the same techniques. I want all of your constituents to be able to learn, so that you amp up all your body, so you're your best shape, so you can do a back flip or a forward flip or ride a bicycle or hit a great tennis shot. It's all within you. It's just that moment that people access, they can never regain it, but it was there when you were real young. And if you can start to gain this get younger energy, which is what we're talking about here, you'll be able to do so many things previously you felt, I don't know if I'll ever be able to do that. Well, anyway, she was, all of a sudden, after she did the practice, she got on the bike and she says, I can do it, start wobbling again, wobbling. I didn't say anything. I said, just keep doing, use your practice while we're doing that. And all of a sudden, it clicked in. And that was it. Yeah. She said, I can do it. And I'm not doing it for her. All I'm doing is giving her the technique so that you can do it for yourself, which was my ultimate goal, which is how I ended up discovering these techniques a long time ago, over 25 years ago, when I finally, after traveling around the world for 160,000 miles and, over 13 countries, to finally end up in a high mountain in China at a monastery with their national treasure, who nobody gets to talk to, and certainly no Westerners. And this was at a time when people were still wearing the Mao outfits, because that was government issue. It wasn't wealthy China then. And I got to see, miraculous things. And I'd already been successful as an endoscopic surgeon, a teacher. So for me to see somebody healing somebody without touching them, I had to prove it was real. So I went back and forth many, many times before I was able to actually see that it was real. Then with all my notes, it was wonderful. Eventually trained me. And the training was just brutal. We can go into that, but it was worth it, because I was able to bring something back for you all that you can do yourself.
Yeah, well, I want to go into the training, because that's a wonderful story for more details, but I really want people to understand the force of the matrix, because it's such a profoundly important concept in your work. And once you get that, everything starts to fit in, and you understand how to categorize the world, and this understanding helps you navigate more efficiently. So help us understand what the matrix is.
You have an opportunity every moment to succeed. You know that. You've got good intentions. You've always had good intentions. That's not the problem. The problem is, how do you show up as soon as you get out of bed every day and be ready to go? Well, people say you need more sleep. And thank God for Joe Mercola with all his great pieces of information and blogs and every single other thing that comes out that allows people to sleep better, you know. And I'm not kidding there's no business relationship between us here. What I'm saying is that I'm thrilled that people have something that you can do it yourself, and that you're at home and you can treat your own body, because you have that within you. Because when you're going to have to hit a volleyball or hit a softball when you're just a kid in school, or a kickball or square dodge, or later you want to play baseball or football, where do you get that ability to show up perfectly as soon as you wake up in the morning? Well, you know it's there, but how's it going? You know, you get on the way to the bathroom in the morning, you sort of shuffle in there, and then finally you go, okay, well, I'll wake up sooner or later. And some people say, well, I have a morning time. And then people go, well, I'm really not that good until afternoon. And people say, I'm a night owl. What if after you learned these practices, you were a 24-hour-a-day owl, so that you could go to bed at night knowing in the morning you're going to wake up like this? You could actually wake up in the zone, but you have to know that it's a choice. Now, it's not, everybody would love if psychology and psychiatry had really provided that for people over the past 60 years. And I certainly have so many psychologists who've been through the programs, and they all say, oh, we thank God for your program. We give them to the clients and they can finally hear what we've been trying to say to them. But to be effective, it's not just positive thinking. You just can't say, okay, I'm going to wake up tomorrow, I'm going to be great. Or I'm going to get up this morning, I'm going to say, I'm going to be great. You have to know that it's sort of like skiing. If you've ever skied, you know, there's the snow and you try to find the good snow, but there's also that part of the mountain where the red sticks are going. If you want to ski on where the rocks are, you're going to break your skis. We don't care what you think. Your brand new skis are going to be trashed afterwards. You won't be able to ski and have any fun. That's what I call the cultural milieu that we've all had descended on us since we were, you know, on the planet, born. That there's all this misinformation that's in your culture, and it's in the news. It's from some of your teachers. Remember that fourth grade teacher? It was like working you out. I don't know, Joe, if you had one, but most traditional school people had, you know, at least one teacher who was just impossible. It was a power struggle the whole time, you know, and that's not education. You didn't need that. You didn't need to go through that experience to become the great you. What you needed since day one was how to take on that ability to, in everything you're doing, be able to balance yourself on the bike and go, Doc, I can do it. And so then I was able to let go on that little girl. And she's now riding her bike, and her mother says, I'm so proud. She was crying. But the question is, can you have that experience that all of a sudden, with everything you're doing each day, you're gaining that access of prowess? Well, you have to know, as Joe mentioned, that there's two forces in the world. And this whole discipline sort of emanates from Lao Tzu, who wrote almost nothing about the topic. That's why everything I had to learn and everything anybody learns has been oral tradition.
Who is Lao Tzu? Just so people.
Lao Tzu was a great, you could call him scientist before Newton. And he invented the yin yang symbol. Along with, before him was Wan-Di, who some people know as the Yellow Emperor. And that's the only book that traditional Chinese medicine is still using. And before Wan-Di was 72 other grandmasters that trained him. And it came down through these people to that there's these two forces in the world. You know, I think everybody's seen it. One side is dark, one side is white. And the dark side is not like Darth Vader's side. What it is just there has to be an opposing force for everything to exist on this planet. Now, just because there has to be a North Pole and a South Pole doesn't mean you want to live in the North Pole, which you could consider matrix environment, extremely cold, extremely overbearing, extremely tough on you. It would be like trying to ski on rocks all the time. It's not that pleasant. It takes a lot of work. But if you go where the snow is, then you get to use your skis and actually have a great time in life. So the question is, can you be aware that you're the chooser at every moment? Now, some people have understood that from, you know, high levels in philosophy. They go, yeah, I'm the observer and I'm the chooser and I'm the one who makes my decisions and I take the hits. Well, you could say that on a negative side, but you could also say that what if on this side of the yin yang symbol, it's all meant for you to have victory, victory, victory. That's why it's all white with just a little bit of resistance, a little bit of challenge. You're not living at the North Pole, but it's like I describe it as something that would enliven you as a challenge so that you actually are participating with life and growing each moment. What if that was the experience, so that it's like you're wobbling on your bike, but then all of a sudden you can do it, and then you're free to excel to the next level. And that's why the yin yang symbol goes into a wider space, up higher, because the whole point of the thing is that your joy can keep increasing. However, if you don't make that choice each moment by using these techniques, which I brought back, which took a long time to be able to learn them, because with the Grandmaster who trained me to become a Grandmaster, and there's no other Westerner or physician or non-Chinese person who's ever been able to go through all these different challenges to be able to bring this back to you. But it's here now, these vibrational techniques, which you can use to be able to ski better and pick the better parts of life rather than getting sucked into the misinformation. So what's the misinformation? Well, it could be, I'm tired, I'm confused, I've got a lot of anger in me, and the anger is always there, and I just sort of stow it. And I have an ulcer, but it doesn't matter. I've been a gastroenterologist for years. I've dealt with all kinds of stress clients, and that was one of the reasons why I went on this long search to find this other answer. With it all comes from quantum physics. So Lao Tzu and Einstein refers to this. Tesla refers to him. All the great quantum physics and regular physics people all refer to Lao Tzu's yin yang symbol, because in the mathematics of that, he actually describes the fact that you matter. In quantum physics, if you're not there, it changes everything. Therefore, if you get that into the permutation of what that means, which is, well, if you're there, then it determines everything. So if you're there, how can you use the techniques to determine everything? And then Einstein also said that once you learn these techniques, everything that seems like magic becomes obvious. In other words, obvious that you can do it, you can use it. So for the little girl to ride the bike, just like for you, maybe getting up in the morning and ready to go, maybe a little bit shaky, but for her now it's no problem. I'm riding with one hand, soon maybe no hands. But for you to get that, you have to know it's a choice. And if you don't recognize there's a choice, then just go look at social media and you'll see that they're giving you a lot of choices that are not going to pull you into being able to function at your top speed all the time. You may feel good after spending a bunch of time in social media or reading something or watching a movie or anything like that, all of which can be fun as a distraction, but you're not going to be stronger the next day. You may think a little more clearly for a few minutes, but then you'll go eat the sugar because you're having these dips that are being controlled by the negative forces in the universe. And some people say, well, the negative force, is that like Darth Vader? Not necessarily Darth Vader, although you can get hurt thinking that, well, whatever I think, and it doesn't matter what it is, which is a misinformation. It's not a negative information, it's misinformation. Whatever I think is going to be a result. I can walk against traffic. No, you don't want to do that. You want to walk in the direction where you're safe and then start manifesting all the things that were meant for you to have this lifetime. And so many people miss those. And that's the regret that people have. And that's over my medical practice over the years, in the emergency room, in the intensive care unit, in the respiratory unit, on the floors in the hospitals, on every other night. You see so many people who you go, gosh, I wish they have to go through this. I mean, I'm glad I'm helping them. Just like Joe, I'm sure thousands of patients, you end up really getting them well. But what if you didn't have to go through that phase of being sick? Well, then if you knew that you could choose to have it differently, to have it where you're getting better each day, then that's what this discipline's about. It's get younger energy. Energy for success is that discipline with the techniques to be able to handle the resistances in life. And for those people like physics, it's, if you can imagine a battery is like a positive and negative pole. So if you don't have the battery, if you don't see the universe as having both this negative and positive energy, you're not going to get anything done, because if you short the thing out, then the battery's dead, in which it goes back to complete entropy. So you don't want that, but that's the structure in the universe. So if you want to stay in the positive form of getting up the mountain and getting stronger, and look at Joe, how much stronger he is and how much more handsome he is, every he keeps getting better and better. And he'll tell you these techniques allow you to have that to support you in your goals, if that's one of your goals. If you want to be more handsome or more strong or more, it opens the Einstein part of your brain. This is the grade 8 that is part of your birthright, that the energy for success is all about.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that perspective. And it reminds me about the misinformation. that is actually exponentially increased since last year, because most of us have traditionally relied on the conventional media to provide us with truth and information because we don't have the resources or the skills necessary to acquire that. And the mainstream media has just literally started lying, and there's just nothing but misinformation to promote it accurately. So that's why I'm so excited about your work, because my mission in life now, really the primary goal that I have, it's aligned somewhat yours, which is world peace. Mine is to rescue us from the impending global tyranny. And I am absolutely convinced, there's not a shadow of a doubt in my mind, that your program, the skills and the resources that I'm acquiring with it, is going to help me succeed. No question about it. It's not just me. I'm going to catalyze and work with all these other brilliant people. So I'm so excited about that. But I wanted to also mention this misinformation also results in emotions. I want to give a personal example. One really challenging emotion I've had my entire life has been anger. And I think many people can empathize with that. But it really has ruined and destroyed me in so many ways. And as I mentioned earlier, for over 25 years or so, I've been studying these personal development strategies, and none of them worked really. None of them really worked. I still had this anger until I did your work, and I realized, my gosh, there's really effective strategies. Once you understand and realize that it's worse than useless. It's actually highly counterproductive and just causes the exact opposite of what you want to achieve. And you've got so much brilliant work that addresses that. So I thank you for sharing that with me and helping me understand that and really transforming my life. It's just, I'm not there yet, but my anger management is so radically improved, and it's just such, it's one of the most useful strategies I've learned is to understand that concept.
I'm so thrilled that you're in life experiencing what Lao Tzu, what the great physicists in the past have provided for us. That, well, say you learned and you were at the Princeton Institute for Advanced Studies with Einstein, and you were like gaining all the quantum knowledge and you were testing and proving it. Why not prove it every day in your own life? So one of those things, and I may be putting you on the spot here, but I'm going to go through the 8 things that people,
the great 8,
address those things, they're going to have the results that you're talking about. And one of them is clarity, that it opens the Einstein part of your brain so you can differentiate, one of the big D's, differentiation between what's misinformation and what's information. Therefore, you don't waste a lot of time with mistakes. How many times have you hired an employee or had a relationship or had a colleague and you said, this is going to make it better, and it just takes 1,000 times more time and effort and struggle while you're with that person who isn't a good fit or in the project you're working on, and then even to disentangle from that person? I mean, that's a lot of wasted energy. What if all your energy was like Wayne Gretzky, very clean, very straight, always able to work towards his position on ice hockey? And I've worked with professional athletes for years and years. And matter of fact, I mostly worked in the beginning when I brought this back to the West with, as you know, presidents of different, not only our country, but different countries, senators, high-level scientists, people, heads of in Fortune 100, 500 companies. But that was what it was used for. And back in old China, that's what was never written down. Some people say, well, show me some books on this. Well, there weren't any. For how long? For all this time. There's only books from Lao Tzu. He didn't even write a book. He refused. He said, the world is too much matrix right now. I've got some students, but I'm going back to the mountains, which was the old tradition in China. So if you look at his original book, he didn't write it. It has a picture of him on it, an engraving, but it's his back. And it's the back of a donkey, and he's going out of town. He's not coming into town. He's leaving you. He's going, too much Matrix here, too much Mr. Smith, if you saw the Matrix movie. Yeah. And so his students went nuts. They were going, God, you can't leave. You're a source. You're getting us to this source energy. The root of all Kung Fu, Qi Kong, Tai Chi that ever came out of China comes from this trunk, this root energy. And he discovered how to access it using the mathematical techniques of the yin yang symbol and how to apply them. And they're very easy to do, 20 minutes a day. But the point is that he didn't even write them down. The students wrote down a bunch of them. And then after that, it was only kept private for the emperor and the emperor's class and the heads of state and industry in China. And then for a long time after that, it still has maintained only an oral tradition. And I was trained and kept under those rules also, and still not written down. So what I was permitted to do was to bring out to the world the techniques so that they would work for you all directly for the very first time. No one's ever taken the effort to actually make that work, and it does. So now I'm going to put Joe on the spot. So Joe, since you started the program using these different techniques, and I know you've tried programs before this, since you tried these basic, significant, simple techniques to do, would you say that your mind, your Einstein part of your brain, has become more open, creative, and be able to differentiate reality, clear about what's good for you, where the snow is and where the rocks are when you're skiing?
No question about it. It's actually one of your other techniques. It's called AAA, alert, aware, and accurate. So those sensors in your mind become open and things become crystal clear, patently obvious that everyone else is missing. And that ability actually started almost a year ago now and just radically transformed elements of my life and others that I know. I mean, it's just mind-boggling what it's done. So, and I can't go into it for security reasons, but that was one of the reasons why I knew this system worked, because there's no way I could have done that myself. It's just like physically impossible. I would have never had that skill set. So yeah, it works.
And there's been so many people that we have. As I said, I have over 70,000 testimonials. And the reason why I got all those testimonials from the very beginning was that I'm still practicing as a white coat doctor all these years, with lots and lots of patients, 2 offices, and still teaching endoscopic techniques, surgical techniques from working from the inside. It's all fascinating. It's wonderful. And I'm not bashing Western medicine at all here, because there's many, many valuable things in Western medicine. You break your leg, you want to get a cast on it, either a Western cast or a Chinese cast, but something so the bones can approximate quicker. And you can do a lot of other things to support that. So there is good parts in Western medicine. It's not all, sort of something that's going to distract you or take you down the wrong direction with side effects and everything. But you have to be, just like Joe said, alert, aware, and accurate. And how do you get to do that? Well, you'd like to do that. And some people say, well, I just need to get more sleep. Well, no matter how much sleep you get, what happens? It still doesn't provide. You go, well, then I'm a morning person or an afternoon person, or I'm an evening. What if you're an all-day person? We have to learn the techniques to turn it on. So one of the areas of the grade 8, and I'll try to get through them now, just give you a few examples, is definitely the Einstein part of your brain. Everybody says, well, what do you mean by that? Well, haven't you ever heard that, like, people, even when I was growing up, they go, well, you only use 10% of your brain if you're lucky, and then where's the rest of it? Well, it's waiting for you to break the 4-minute mile. That's where it's waiting, but that's a pathway. Now, how do you access those neurons? How do you access those pathways? Well, that's what Dave Asprey, one of my clients who I've been treating for years, and a bunch of other people that you'll see on this video audio tape that Joe has gotten, where I tell my story about some of the more famous people in the world that, have come out and said that I've been working with them for a long time, teaching these techniques. And then they've been very, very successful at becoming smarter and more creative. Creative's another one where you just, all of a sudden, you can just download all kinds of things you've always wanted to do. We have one lady, she's in her late 60s now, and she's now written 5 books, and each one of them is like a super success. So creativity is the second one. So people that would like to become, playwrights, or write music. We have one gentleman who was unable to even produce any songs at all. He was one of those people that believed if you did 10,000 hours in a garage, that sooner or later you would make it as a great something. Well, he didn't become a Beatle, and he didn't become a Rolling Stone. He didn't become anything, just wrote a few songs that were just not much. So he came with these techniques because his father said, this guy doesn't have a job, has never done anything. He's going to make something himself. He's got to do something. He then needs to learn your techniques. And so he started the techniques, and within 3 months, after years, over 5 years of just in and out of a garage and living off of his dad, his songs, he wrote 13 songs, and they became successful. And then he got hired by Radiohead. And then he got even connections with the Rolling Stones managers. And he actually become very, very successful. And before that, he didn't have the money for his shoelace. And now he's working with Beyonce and all these other great people. And it's fun. And I would like Joe to confirm this, that once you get your momentum going, like the young lady that rode the bike, you can really sort of whisk and go faster, and you start taking on more things so that you don't have overwhelm, which is another one of the 8. You sort of look forward to having many plates up in the air, and you're not worried about this stupid thing that everybody says, well, you can't multitask, or you can only individually do one thing and then go to the next thing. So many people are telling you what you can't do. What if there was someone telling you how you can make it happen with yourself? And on a good day, you've had those moments when you've done that. Mm-hmm. Now, how could you access that all the time? That's what the great 8 are about. So one of them is relationship, and I think Joel might confirm this also, that you start to recognize, I've got people around me that are wonderful, and I've got some people around me that are sort of dead weight. And you start to recognize who's really a good relationship, and you can start to connect with them, and you start having greater relationships, even with your, maybe you came from a family that's spread out now, but you start to reconnect with even previous people in your family who, you maybe didn't have that great a relationship, or your spouse or your significant other. And also one other person that's really important you connect with in relationship, person in the mirror. The one where you don't, you pass by the mirror, do I look okay? Okay. But you don't look and see, how am I doing right now? Am I in good shape? Well, how's the person in the mirror doing? And what if every time you went by the mirror, you're going, I'm doing better. I can see it. I'm ready to get out. I'm ready to go out there. Just throw me the ball. I want to play. I want to play. I'm ready to go. Like a kid. And that's why this energy, one of the 3 names for this energy that Lao Tzu, was able to, access is get younger energy. And what it is just when you see colors, and we go back to physics again, look around, there's all these beautiful colors. You love it. I love all these colors. It's just a wonderful manifestation in this world. But really, it's not really colors. If you look at the physics of it, it all comes from white light. Yeah, it's white light that's broken up into multiple colors. And people go, yeah, that's strange. No, it's not strange. It's something you need to learn about. Because if you can access the white light, if you can access the tree trunk that is feeding Qigong, Tai Chi, which I learned all these things before I ever got to that mountain in China. I'd been to Japan, South America, Central America, was even worked, with shamans. And actually, there's photos of me with all the shaman garb. I have much shorter hair now. But I learned all those natural medicine techniques, which is, everybody's experimenting with medicinals and things like that. But it's really just a quick distraction. When you come back to your relationship 2 days later, you're not any better. Even though you took a medicinal or some type of plant-based whatever, you're not any better. You're still off. It's just like I spent time both in India and in Korea in monasteries and learned multiple meditation techniques. And it wasn't great because I couldn't bring it back to the people here, and you could have rapid success. When I finally learned these techniques and went back to Japan and worked with some of the monks there, they all said, these techniques allow us to meditate and actually get the result that we've been looking for, that samadhi effect, that nirvana effect, faster than anything else, which is one of the other names for this energy for success type energy, which is the fastest route to enlightenment. So if that's one of your interests, which is one of the 8 also, which is that not only your relationship with yourself, but your connection to the wonderful experience of your prowess, your strength, your being in the zone and flow in life. And so many people have interpreted zone as being, well, I'm focused all day. Don't bother me. I know what I'm doing. No calls, nothing. And I'm really working on my thing. No, that is being narrow-minded. What if you could handle all these 8 all the time? And it's like a platform, and each one of these engines are firing, and it's taking you up so that each day you've got a more stronger, clearer view of life. So when I work with basketball players, they say, I don't care about the physics, doc. I just want to be able to make free throws and be able to take the ball in the last 3 seconds and put it in the basket. Well, what that means is you're flexible no matter what. So that if the game's not going well, you're in the flow of being able to function and come up with a great idea and be able to function in a way that you can pass the ball off or shoot the ball, but you'll make the right choice. And so many people, when you ask them, why'd you do that thing you did? Why'd you turn left at that corner right when the light was changing and ended up in a fender bender? I don't know. I was distracted. Okay, the insurance companies know that. They've known that for years. That's why they raise your rates, because they know you're a person who gets distracted easily. What if you're a person who doesn't get distracted by peripheral phenomenon, but where you want to go is where you end up going? You're one of those people, when accidents happen, you're not there. You're where you want to be. You're at your destiny. You're at the restaurant that you want to get to. And that's this whole thing that I think Joe was mentioning earlier, is that you have a lot of, one of the other eight is serendipity on command. You start having all these wonderful people show up. You start having people that I didn't know I had this great person working for me. And people go, well, you never looked. Well, you're right. I was too busy. What were you too busy with? Thoughts, feelings, emotions, being highly motivated. The good idea of the day that came up on, YouTube list. Have this thought and hold it all day. I have a guy who did that. It's a really smart guy. And he says, I learned this this thing about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and that's going to make you totally centered and able to do things. He's now in the hospital with a head injury because he was going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The ice took his skis up like this. And he went crash. Busted his head. So you can't have a technique that takes you out of reality. You want one that brings you into the world out here, the people around you, the things you want to accomplish. And the way to do that is that you need to be, as Joe said, alert, aware, accurate. And there's even a fourth is affable. In other words, you're actually enjoying looking forward to it. So you're going to, what your birthright is with these grade 8 for you each day with these techniques is, one, that you're definitely going to become more creative. 2, zone and flow, but it's not like zone and flow, like I'm just doing one thing. You're going to be doing all these things and still being flexible to be able to enjoy doing them. And then besides that, the Einstein part of your brain waking you up so that you can just be sharp as a tack all the time. Doesn't matter your age or whatever. I think Joe knows that we had a neurosurgeon, a woman she really had a great practice, but all of a sudden she decided to want to get all these other degrees and take on a whole new type of medicine. And so she had added a whole second career and has a family and has 2 kids and is doing research and is teaching and is a wonderful human being. Now, how do you get to do all those? Most people are like, this is me and I only go between these boundaries. What if your boundaries are no longer constrictive and you get to extend them each day? So that your boundaries is an end zone that you get to reach for, just going step by step. So one of the other grade 8, besides the creativity and the brain becoming smarter, is that you become younger or stronger or more flexible or more able each day. You may not come out and look as good as Joe. I can't guarantee that. But we've had a lot of people who, people get questions. Is that really your photos, or did you get those touched up? They go, well, it's me. Take a look. That people, remember, beauty's from the inside. So what if that white light, that tree trunk, that energy, you're able to pull it in because all your sensors are now working day and night, so that from the inside, you're feeling it and expressing the joy of existence. And, Dave Asprey, one of the clients I've worked with, helped him write his 2 books, 3 now, recently. He loves this idea, and he calls it, and some of you are biohackers, he likes mitochondria, which are these little tiny organelles that are inside your cells. And those are power plants. And if you can imagine, all those are sensors, and those have the capacity to pull in frequencies, then you're going to be really, really astounded, because that's just his image of what I've been talking about. But actually, I told him that's only the beginning. There's way more sensors than even that in your body, because there's so many other vibrations you need to be able to take in. So what if it were possible that not only your relationships, you weren't going to have overwhelm, you could be looking forward to each moment in life, that you could keep on taking on new things. I mean, we had a guy who was 83 who came to me one day and said, will this stuff work for me? I'd like to get a pilot's license. And so I said, okay, his name was Joe also, not this Joe. And I said, well, yeah, it depends. You'll have to pass the physical too. You're 83. And he says, well, I want to do the techniques and see what happened. And he got stronger and more able. His eyesight improved. Everything about him, to whatever level it could, being revived, got revived. And he got his pilot's license and ended up buzzing our lecture every weekend with his airplane and landing and then coming to the class. I think that's a great thing, that you have no limits, that your future can be a lot of more things that you can pick up, that will make your life become even more exciting, but not because you're like jacking yourself up, but because you've really got real results. There's this ice cream store, this wonderful person, or this big financial deal, which is another one of the grade 8, which is you're meant to actually be financially successful. And thank God Joe has been so supportive of people knowing that you really have access to so many different things that if you take care of your health and you take care of your approach, which is this is all about, that financially you have the ability to pick better choices rather than following certain investments that can't go anywhere, or thinking that the job you've got is as good as the best job that you could get, and not seeing that your whole life is one of expansion. If you could just get that the matrix is all about you not expanding and giving you misinformation saying you need to stay contracted and you really can't, and it's really you won't, it's not you can't, but that you could start, if you could see that's the rocks, you want to stay away from that. How can I learn the techniques to stay in that big white area on the side of the yin yang symbol where it's win, win, win. And it's okay for you to keep winning because that's what's happening in your body every minute. Think about it. Blood is running through your fingers right now, and it's running through your shoulder, and it's running through your ear. You're winning in all those spots, getting oxygenated, and you're doing nothing about that part. Maybe you're doing nothing, but Joel will tell you that with certain things that he has, taken a long time to be very, very clear about, that this does augment those processes, then you're going to be supporting yourself to have that blood flow, bring the oxygen, get the CO2 out, and then you're going to feel stronger. So, Joe, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to promote all your products, but it turns out that they all fit. And I think that's why you and I are, actually clear about that. Your health and vitality is something that you have to take on in life, but it can't be the only thing you take on. You need to take on all 8 because your life is like a platform. And so the serendipity on command, which is all these good things show up, and your finances improve, your creativity improves, your ability to find out that you've got more resources by being in the zone. Just imagine that you're a platform that's an octagon, and this platform has 8 engines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you've got these 8 different angles here. And if each one of those is an engine, then your platform will be balanced. You actually will be straight up and going up, 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 and you can break through all the things that are in your way. Get up in the morning and roll. After lunch, roll. Dinner time, keep rolling because the engines are going great. But say you only decide to work on finance, 1 engine. Well, you've got 7 others that are supposed to hold up this octagon. So you're sort of going to have a slanted view of life because only 1 engine is pulling you up. The other one, well, actually, if this is finance, it'd be like this. This engine's pulling you up and everything else is sliding down. So the guy who comes home and says, I've been working my whole life and it's really great and I now have more money and dear, I'm home. And she goes, I haven't seen you, or you're just involved in your business. I don't think we have much of a relationship. We need to talk. So the point is that you need to be able to take care of all those. And people go, it's too much. No, it's not too much. What's too much is the amount of misinformation that runs through, like in German, the Hintergedanken, the part of your brain that just keeps rolling around with talking, talking, talking. What's talking? That thing that just said, what's talking? It's always thinking and talking. And it's just a system that you need to take control of, but not by force and not by doing 10,000 courses that are going to wear you out and still not give you the result. The techniques are part of your body, just like riding a bike. And if you could learn those, and I'll go into something has to do with categories with people, if you'd like for me to, but you just need to know if you worked on those grade 8 for 20 minutes a day, you're going to have results that'll be undeniable. Not because I said so, but just because your body's made that way. It's part of quantum physics, and you can't understand it until you participate with it. Just like you can't understand riding a bike until finally you get to do it and work through that struggle period. You keep getting away from the rocks until you get to the place where it's smooth in your body and you can do it.
That is brilliant. Thank you for summarizing that so eloquently. And it just occurred to me that I have to modify my trademark, which is take control of your health. Health is only one aspect of the grade 8. It should be changed to take control of your grade 8.
Right. Yeah. Because you're supporting all those.
Yeah. So it's just, I love that analogy with the octagon. It was great. So that is, the grade 8 is phenomenal. It's definitely an important part in understanding the matrix and how the energy works. And you did a good job of explaining that. But one of the other things, and there's, as I said, there's going to be a lecture series that we're going to promote here that Dr. B's never allowed before. But he's been gracious enough to provide it. But I was torn, and I picked it myself because I thought it was so brilliant. But I was torn because I really wanted to give the best of the best. And the other unbelievable aspect of this, of Energy for Success Worth, is helping you understand what categories of relationships are. And this was beyond transformational for me. It literally changed the heck out of my life. And one of the reasons why I have absolutely no doubt that this system is incredible and works. I know with absolute certainty it works, not a micro doubt. So, and I'll share a personal example, but before I do, just summarize that, because you can go on for 2 hours on this, but basically relationships are divided into 4 categories. And this is understanding this categorization that helps you navigate through life with the relationships in a way that is beyond extraordinary and will just make your life so much better.
This is a topic which every time that I'm asked to speak to high-level CEOs or come into a Fortune 500 company, Fortune 100 company, or just startup in Silicon Valley, they all say, okay, give us the categories, because we've heard from everybody. Once we learn that, we're definitely going to cut through the chase and get right to becoming victorious, because we're going to know the right kind of people to augment us to have it work. And why is that important? Because it takes a village. You're not going to make it alone. Come on. Listen, with COVID and all this other stuff, you probably had the experience. You've got cabin fever, and that's a good thing, because you just have to find the right people to work with, and then you can really sail. You can really make it happen. But I happen to be a sailor, and let me tell you, if you have a crew that they don't, they're fumbling around, they don't really care what they're doing, your chance of winning the sailing race or even making it across the ocean is going to be very precarious. And I love sailing, but not with a team that's not committed. So how do you find a team that's committed? How do you find a team that, say you're a startup right now, or say you're just a single person, you just like to be able to make it, and you don't even have finances to pay for other people, but you'd like to find the right people to work with? Well, what Lao Tzu discovered a long time ago in the valuable accessing of the quantum physics is that people really fall into like 4 categories. And pretty much they've always done that. And the emperor found this out, and you're going to find this out. And famous CEOs that are on the front of Fortune magazine, I've schooled in this for the past 25 years and had them use these techniques to build their companies. And sometimes they've had to build it and it really worked. And then when they stopped using the techniques, it didn't work. And they came back and said, what did I do wrong? I said, well, did you do the due diligence to find out if the person was a category 4 or category 1, or just hire them because somebody told you that they did good in another company? And they went, the latter. And I go, yeah, it's just a simple set of techniques that allows you to see that most people that you're going to run into, you're going to have a sense like, who is this person? Do I really want to like fall in love with them as a long-term friend? Do I want to fall in love with them as a person that would be my best buddy? Or do I want to like be very careful? I don't want to do anything with them. If I do anything in business, it's going to be dangerous. Well, those are just 4 categories. The first category is the win-win category. And those people are probably like most of the people out here that are listening or watching, is that you really are a person who cares about, if you win, you want the other person to win. If you get an ice cream cone, you want to make sure that if you're in the ice cream store, that they get a gelato too, or they get an ice cream cone too. You're not the kind of person who like, if you find some money on the ground, you pick it up and go, did somebody lose this? You're not about to take it. It's not, you want to like support the world that we're going to do it together. So that's the kind of person who's thinking about you, even when you're not with them, because they're big enough human, big enough heart, big enough brain power to pull in energy to know we need to make it together. It takes a village. So I want to find other villagers along the way that we're going to both be strong trees. So in this discipline, the goal in category 1s is that everybody gets to be a strong tree. You don't have to have dependency, dependency relationships like, if you do this, then I'll do that, obligation. Okay, you get the laundry and I'll take care of the kids, and then we will stop arguing. But the point is that we just divide duties and then we get along, but there's not much juice. What if there was this juice of, I love you and I'm so happy to be with you, and when I see your face, I'm so excited. You're someone who lights me up. Well, you light me up because I don't feel like you're a burden. I feel like I don't want to give to you. And the reason I want to give to you, because you're always giving to me, because you want me to be a tall tree. You're like going, don't get the laundry. Don't worry about that stuff. What I want you to do is this other stuff. And you all work it out so that you're a team. And then 1 + 1 equals this huge strength, rather than one tree leaning on the other and saying, I don't know if I can make it without you, or I don't know if you can make it without me, or you better not be able to make it without me. No, I want you to be strong so that you can support the entire force, the entire tent. So that's category 1, that you're win-win. Category 2 is still win-win, but you're not as conscious. They're like some of your best friends who you love, to go out with. Maybe you'll go drink with them, you'll have parties with them, and they're always wonderful to you most of the time. But then sometimes they blow it and they play and they do win-lose. So the first category is win-win. They're always win-win. When they win, they want to make sure everybody else wins because they know it takes a village of win-win people. Category 2 is still that way, but they go unconscious sometimes. And, my best example of that is Sharon, who was a decorator for me at one time for my medical office. And as I said, I had 2 medical offices, and she was just so happy because after she did our office, I referred her to the administrator, and the administrator was like, oh gosh, we should have her do the whole building. So she got this great contract, and she's a lovely lady from France, and she was just all with the scarves and everything and the colors. And everybody said, what a great decorator. So she came back to my office and says, Doc, you've done such for my career. I said, no, I'm win-win. I want you to be successful everywhere. And she said, I have to do something for you. So I'm going to cook you a great French meal because I know you're a foodie, and I'm going to get it for you. And we're going to have get your whole staff here. We'll do it tomorrow. I'll be here at 6:00. And I went, fantastic. So we got everybody ready, and some people brought their children. Some people brought their significant other or their spouse. So we had, a group of people there at 6, and Sharon, 7:00, still not there. 7:30, not there. 8, not there. 8:30, finally everybody went home, and she finally showed up at 8:45. She says, it's here, and I've got this fantastic French meal, and she had silver and crystal and everything. She rolled out. I said, Sherry, you're a little bit late. She said, oh yeah, I just wanted to make sure everything was perfect. I know this is your typical category 2, all heart, all wonderful, but you sort of pay your time zone versus all these people's time. So it wasn't win-win. It was sort of win-lose. She says, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do now. This is how you can diagnose a category 2, is that a category 2 person always will make an amend right on the spot. They are they're there for you, and you don't even have to ask me. She said, listen, I'm sorry I inconvenienced you all, so just keep this meal, but I'm going to bring another one, but I'm bringing it in the afternoon, and then you all just eat it whenever you want to. And she did. She showed up 2 days later, and she brought this whole thing for everyone. They were all thrilled. And then another story about her later, she got me tickets to a play, and I said, Sharon, listen, I know you, and I love you as a buddy. I'm thinking in my head, but you're a category 2. So what I'm going to do is, I'm telling you, I'm going to be outside the theater for 10 minutes before it starts. And if you're not there, you've got your ticket. I've got my ticket. You'll know what seat I'm in. I'm going to be sitting inside waiting for it. And if you don't make it, don't worry. See, you don't get upset with category 2. You don't have to live with them. You say, if you don't make it, we'll go out for coffee and dessert afterwards. And she said, you're so sweet, because category 2s just get out of control. They get involved in things, but they're wonderful people. You can still have them as anything, relationships, people that you love to be with, significant others. But what about category 3s and 4s? Are you interested in those? That's what I say. Joel, what do you think? You want to hear?
You should. If you're not, you should be.
Unfortunately, a large majority of the workforce, at least, are category 3. Category 3 are win-lose. And guess who gets to win? They do. Guess who gets to lose? You do. And they don't stop. In other words, their victory in life is that they win, but also that you lose. And it can play both ways. In other words, that their winning can be just that you lose. And you're going, what are you talking about? Well, these people are a little bit like someone who's, a zealot, someone who's like, you have to do this. And if you don't do this, then you're crazy. And you look at them and go, I don't know, I think you're a little bit over the board on this. So it reminds me of like, well, there was a study done in many years ago where they studied high school kids, junior high school kids. And so they had a problem in the New York City schools. And so they brought this, or one of the East Coast schools. It was either New York or Chicago, I think, or St. Louis. One of the, I remember, one of those bigger cities. And so they had all the kids had to go see the principal along with the psychologist who was in there. And they said, did you steal Patty's purse? And everybody said, that they brought in one after another. They said no. And they got interviewed, and then they would leave. And so finally they brought in the girl that they knew had stolen the purse. And the reason is they had a secret camera because they had so much theft in that high school in the room. And so they knew it was her. So they asked her to come in, and they said, well, did you steal the purse? And the lady said, absolutely not. I did not steal the purse. Whoever steals a purse should, be taken out of school. They should be suspended. I think it's the worst thing in the world. So this is a typical category 3. They do not admit anything, and they're always going to be right. You're wrong. And they'll find a way to end everybody's sentence. If you have anybody every time you say to them, listen, you do this, this, and this, and they'll go, yeah, I'll do that, but I'm going to change it a little bit. And then they never, ever really follow what you want them to do. But when you catch them, because they've been unconscious, it's a funny story. So when they caught this lady, they said, well, just sit outside and wait a minute. And so then they brought her back. And then the principal said to her, well, look at this video. And so who's that in the video? Isn't that you taking her purse? And so the lady went, yes, that's me. And they said, well, what do you have to say about that? So now you got to get this, a category 3. This is how they think. It's just so justified, righteous. She said, well, she left it out. She deserves to lose it. They operate on a system that's win-lose. You leave it out, I win, you lose. And she was just brutal. Everybody went, okay, I guess we got it. So, the point is that if you have people like that who, no matter what you tell them, they've got a way around it, that's a category 3. So you really want to know about category 4s? These are not the people you want to learn about, but you have to know they exist. It's the smallest percentage of the population, but they're conscious that they're doing this. In other words, they're absolutely very clear that whatever it takes, they're the people who try to not only game the system, but they're consciously gaming the system and gaming you. So what reminds me about a person like this, we had someone who actually did a business deal for a bunch of doctors at the hospital to buy a machine. I don't know, it's MRI or something. And so everybody invested. And so when there was a distribution, small distribution, maybe we made 8% or something like that. But when everybody made their percent, this one guy who organized it made like 20 times what everybody else made. And everybody's going, all the other doctors are yelling, go, why did he make all this money? He was supposed to just get a percentage. And what he got with this huge amount. And so I went and talked to the guy, and I'm representing all the other doctors and like 25 other doctors. And I said, hey, Pete, what's going on here? You're openly, in these records show that you took way more money out of the distribution than anybody else. I mean, that's completely not okay. Everybody's upset with you and you've ruined your reputation. You need to do something about this. He goes, absolutely not. No, if I could have taken more, I would have. And I said, but you've ruined your reputation here. I mean, no doc is going to want to connect with you. I mean, your integrity is now terrible. He said, not a problem. I belong to other hospitals and other places, and I'm going to do the same thing there. And they won't know a thing. And he did. He moved on to another place, did another deal, another thing. And so there's people like this that are constantly playing win-lose, but they're conscious about it. And those are the people that if you meet those people, you need to sever immediately, because they're not going to ever give up, because they don't know any other way. They're sort of the lowest part of the brain, sort of the hyena part of the brain. The hyenas, they eat anything they can. They'll even eat each other. They're eat or be eaten. And that part of the brain is crazy because you're a human being now. You're not a hyena. So you don't want to play win-lose. It takes a village. Those people don't live very long because someone takes them out. Usually one of the other category 4s in their various gang group or whatever. But I want you to recognize that you have an opportunity each moment to really succeed. And unless you ferret out what each person is, you don't know what you're dealing with just because they may look nice or like the old song from the 50s, you can't judge a book by its cover. You really don't know until you use some techniques to determine what they are. And so I've had so many people who are at very high levels who rearrange their staff or rearrange their board, and all of a sudden they just take off. And I mean, really take off. And you're going to be, well, you've already heard about a number of these companies over the years. It's just I've always played in the background because I just wanted to support people to go out and share this so that you all become successful. So more and more, you're going to have more testimonials of people that you're going to hear about that have made tremendous success. And now that I've stopped doing surgery for at least a year now, because I think it's so important that you all learn these techniques and all the other ones that we've got so that you can really amp up every day and get the world to work for everybody with no one left out. And that'll happen when you're a strong tree and you don't feel like I ought to be obligated or dependent on somebody. I actually have more to give. But it isn't, when people say, well, it's better to give than receive, but that's like everything that comes from the ancients, from where I was trained, it's all in code. What that means is, wouldn't you rather be in such a position of an expanding geyser inside of you so that you're winning in all 8 all the time, so that you're able to give, like Ben Franklin said, give a job to somebody who's busy, not somebody who's not busy, because someone who's busy at least knows how to handle things. So if you have more to give, then, and instead of being needy, which was what the koan's about, then you're feeling your own prowess. And believe it or not, if that were your goal each day, if you got nothing from this whole presentation, but the fact that you deserve to have your prowess expand every day, look out into the universe. There's nothing but expansion. You put a telescope, it's all moving. It keeps expanding. Einstein said as long as it keeps expanding, that's life. You're part of what's out there. You just don't take cognizance of it. You're part of what people call astronomy. No, it's major connection with you. The vibrational connection between all the planets, the constellations, this whole universe. Good for us. We have that opportunity, unless you want to be a category 4 and go, well, I really don't care. All I want to do is rip people off. That's very small-minded part of the brain. You're not going to have your sensors pulling in all the things that you really need to use to be able to be successful every day. Because the more people that you can find that are copacetic with you, that want to work with you, and that aren't like righteous about, that they're right and you're wrong, but that they want to have a group win-win solution. And really, it's 3 W's: win for you individually, win for the other person, and win for the environment. So it's really WWW, that at all times, if every decision you make, you can make it using these categorizations and come from win, 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 then you're going to have results that are going to mount on top of each other for everybody involved and you. And together, party, look good, feel good, and make success.
Yeah, thank you for expanding on that. And as I mentioned earlier before you started, this is one of the reasons why I know with certainty now that the system works, because I've applied it and seen unbelievable miracles happen in my life. And let me give you a few examples. I literally am getting wins almost every day and getting new category 1 relationships in my life, and with extraordinary people, major influencers, and really have a lot of ability to help with the mission that I'm seeking to do. So that's one. And then even my relatives, my brother, my only brother in the world, we used to work for us when we were in Chicago, and he couldn't move down to Florida, and there was some misunderstanding there, and our relationship just disappeared, and I never really bothered to repair it. But I realized after this work that I needed to, and I did. And now we're category 1 relationship again, which is great. So excited about that. And finally, with respect to romantic relationships, I've been kind of like a miserable failure in that department my entire life. And not necessarily I'm picking the wrong person. I mean, a lot of it was me. I didn't have these grade 8 success principles and applying them, and really probably contributed to some of that miscategorization of relationships. So I typically, because my wife was probably was a category 1, and I just was messed up. But my other relationships were probably all category 3. Pretty confident of that. And I just recently terminated one that I had for like over 10 years, almost 12 years. And did it in a way that was totally in line with the energy. And I think it's a win-win. So we're ending with friends and everything. But even more importantly, prior to that, I realized that you helped me understand. You have an interesting strategy of finding a romantic partner, in that you have them make a list. And many of us have done that, to make a list of people that we're interested in and list the category or the characteristics. But your list was pretty different, because not only have characteristics you like, but had included characteristics that you don't like. And not is it 5 or 6 characteristics, it's 50. So that's a pretty restrictive list if you're really careful about it. And so I made that list, and sure enough, literally within making the list, I identified the person who it was, and it was someone I had known for 2 years, who I admired and respected, because she was an incredible biohacker, one of the best I've ever known. And she has something that I call FTI. She has a lack of that, which is failure to implement. So she basically does, when she learns something, she does it. But most importantly, and one of the most endearing characteristics that she has, is that she makes me laugh. She makes me laugh more than anyone I've ever met in my life. I mean, I just am laughing all the time with her, which is so odd. So I am so grateful for that. And that's, as I said, one of the major characteristics. And another characteristic that I determined was that the person shouldn't be in an existing relationship. She shouldn't be married or have a boyfriend. So amazingly, this woman I identified didn't have those. But it was even more incredible because she had been leading a monastic lifestyle for a decade, no relationships, and because she felt really, really comfortable in solitude. So when we connected and realized and dialogued about this, it was very clear she was not interested in a romantic relationship or a romantic partner, and still isn't. But she's a category 1 friend, and just gives me such a great thrill. So that is, one of the best benefits of the program, and one, as I said, that makes me confident that this system works.
There's a lady that I met when she was in medical school and she was going to drop out. And she said, I can't stay in medical school. It's driving me crazy. I got to take medication. I'm so stressed out. I just want to drop out. And I'm nervous and I'm living with my mom and dad and it's just horrible. So she said, would these techniques do anything for me? And just being able to make things work and handle the tension of medical school and relationships and all that. And so I said, yeah, but you have to go for all 8. So she then started doing these practices and was able to stop taking all the emotional medications and medicinals. Her grades went up so that she became the head of her medical school class. She then developed a relationship with a great guy who her parent wasn't what her parents had necessarily picked out for, but she loves this guy. And he became a great guy who works for one of the huge companies in the world. They ended up getting married. She became chief resident. She then moved on and now has a new opportunity, and they're going to have a kid in another state where he's super successful. She's got her own individual practice. She's financially stable and she's able to counsel other people all the time. And she's not stressed out at all. And she attributes it all to using each one of these techniques to have a better and better relationship with her other classmates, with the starting out with her parents and also with the professors, and now finding the soulmate of her life and then being willing to go out and have a great practice in addition. So there's no limit to the number of great people you can meet to work with, whether they're just colleagues or whether some people to fall in love with.
Really, it's almost unbelievable that your life could be better than you could ever possibly imagine. And I know mine absolutely has been this last year. I would have never dreamed these things could occur. In my wildest dreams, I couldn't imagine it, but it's happening. So why don't you talk about that? Because it's too good to be true.
One of the things that's so useful in what you're saying is sort of the big 3 that have to do with the energy for success, and why I kept going back to China going, well, I have this great opportunity. I get to study this Grandmaster who is a national treasure. And as a scientist, since I'd already done research myself here in the United States, that I know I have to be able to prove this, and other people have to be able to prove it in their lives. And it has to work for each person, regardless, has to stand alone if it's a true principle of physics, that it's a true principle of quantum physics, that it's part of what makes up existence, part of what makes up the vibrations between the positive and negative of the whole universe. So I talked to people and, I said, what the biggest problem seems to be that these techniques work, but then people they're sort of, well, I don't know if it worked for me. No, that's why I got to 70,000 people to see that if every age group, even 2 years old, my mother, I didn't start treating her till she was 80. She said, well, I guess I want to learn about these energy techniques now. And I went, okay. And she lived to be 100, still reading books and just cranking, not seeing doctors. And finally, that was it. But the point is, you and I are deluged by what we mentioned earlier, by this whole sort of matrix misinformation that you can't do things are difficult, there's pressure on you, you can't have what you want, that you just have to just keep pushing, sort of like Sisyphus, the old story where you're pushing the rock up the hill, and then after the end of each day, it rolls back down. You have to do it again each day. That's many people's lives. If you when they interviewed a guy who was one of the number 1 people in Japan as far as academics, and he said, I got to do the same thing tomorrow. It's not that fun. I feel so narrow in my life. I never got to expand and enjoy that who I am and what I am, even though I got tons of awards. I don't feel like me is getting awarded, because who you are is a moment by moment experience. And to have that experience of your own prowess is 3 phases. And the first one is that with this discipline of energy for success, It's about that life for most people goes like this: some good things, and then it's down again, and then some good things, and then the other shoe's going to drop. And then when is the good thing going to end? And maybe there'll be a good thing someday. But in energy for success is completely different. It's that at every day, it's just another platform, and you keep climbing the mountain, you get stronger and stronger and stronger until there isn't a limit to what you can do. So my hand goes off the screen because it gets better than you can expect. So what is better than you could expect? Well, take all the things that you think that you would like to do and that you haven't done. And what if it were possible? I know it's a stretch, but just if you were write it down and say, what if it were possible, if I did this technique, that it would work? And then all of a sudden and that's why we have journals for everybody, that we want you to journal, because you're going to start recording all the times that, doggone it, it worked. And if it's up to the matrix, go, no, it doesn't work for other people. Well, because it does work for other people, but just like now that you know the key that life can go like this, what's the next key? Well, the next key is that at each moment, if you do these techniques, it allows you to get more balanced on your skis or on your bicycle, and all of a sudden you can ride easier and take any rocks or anything that you're going over. And so that happens to be part of what life is like, but you keep winning and having fun getting to where you want to go. And so that it works for anybody and everybody. And that's why I spent so many years just supporting other great people in the world who are making great contributions, being their coach and showing these techniques, so that people could see that it doesn't matter whether, and I've done this now with every age group, with these techniques, with every ethnicity. It doesn't matter what religion, where you came from, who your parents were. I mean, I've worked with farmers who barely understood my language in Asia, okay, and in South America, with people that have almost no education at all. So you don't have to be like someone who, well, I took all these degrees, I need to go and learn. No, it's within you. So the point is, it will work for you because it's worked for so many other people, that you've got sort of this general opportunity that you breathe oxygen, and plants give you the oxygen, you give them the CO2. There's this dynamic that's going on in life. And if you can learn the physics of this dynamic, that's how your body works. So that's how you're going to be successful. And that's how you're going to break your own 4-minute mile, which is better than anybody could ever expect previously. But all of a sudden now people can do it. And you've had moments like that. You know that there was at least one moment in your life where, well, I don't know, maybe you hit a softball or you hit a baseball or something, a home run or a great golf shot, but it's almost like there was no sound. Mm-hmm. It was like, it's like you're transfixed for a moment, because you were in the energy at that moment. You were where you need to be. You were being who you really are. You were being the trunk with all the white light so that you could move your body to any position, and you connected with the ball. And then as soon as you did, you didn't even have to move. And if you look at most people on TV who hit home runs or great hits, they almost don't move because they're like transfixed. They can't even run because they're like amazed that they're in this wonderful state of expansion, which is our natural state that you want to reach for every day, and not get pushed over by the matrix of someone saying you can't, and then just keep reproducing that, and then take off and run for first base. So the three things are that life really does go up each day for you if you choose that. That's the white side of the yin yang symbol, the clear side. And life also has techniques to it, which are these techniques, which were just an oral tradition proven over thousands of years, but now available to you just by these videos and audios, where what the technique that I was trained to do was to embed in the videos and audios the techniques and the vibrations in there, so that your body would immediately be able to take it over. If you've ever had a tennis teacher who said, here's the tennis ball and this is how you serve, and you go like that and you go like this, and then you throw the ball up and do something that's bizarre and you barely hit the ball. And then I'll take a person who can hit a tennis ball, and I'll say, look, use these practices, and all of a sudden you're in the zone, so that when the ball goes up, it's almost like it's in slow motion. And then you're totally able to come forward, being totally in the energy and inflow, and connect to the ball. And then it's one fluid motion. You and the ball become one. You and the tennis court become one. And a lot of people know I'm working with some people who are in the best tennis tournaments around the world now, who are pros, and they're using these techniques to be able to beat very tough competitors. And if you looked at each day that you're in a championship and you'd like for it to be better than you could expect, and you're going to prove it. And these techniques will allow you to prove it. You're the right kind of person to be doing these techniques, because you're going to get the joys of your life, because you will prove it to yourself, because it's how you're made. You're made to be a winner, not because you psychologically say that to yourself, because you actually are. Just like you're made to have blood flow through your fingers and feed them so that they can do all these wonderful motions in front of the camera for you. And, you know, you can do all these different techniques that we're going to show you that are going to allow you to open up your sensors. And with the embedded vibrations that are in there, they go together. So there's a physical, mental, and then there's a sense. There's over 256 vibrations, a sense of balance, or a sense of moving to the left, or a sense of moving to the right, or sense of opening your brain so that you actually can function smoothly. And you know that in moments when you do it. It's just that because of all the misinformation around, we get off track, we get distracted, we get pulled off into the, you know, Hansel and Gretel story. You have to get out of that enticing gingerbread house and get moving before that, you know, curmudgeon lady that, you know, keeps stabbing you and saying, you know, I'm eating you for dinner. There's too many people getting eaten every day. You need to have the life you deserve.
Yeah, we definitely don't need that. So the final topic I'd like you to address is the fact that you are treating many successful people. And I guess one of the characteristics that would inhibit or prevent someone who's already successful to starting your courses, I'm already successful. I mean, and it's sort of an arrogance, and it's partially an arrogance that I had too. I mean, I was the most visited natural health site in the world for 17 years, and, you know, was well recognized natural health leader. And what did I need to do better for? But one of the concepts that is so foundational and just mind blowing is the fact that there is no top to the mountain. You can always do better, which is just an enormously enlightening understanding, and really motivates you to achieve, you know, continued success beyond what you could ever imagine.
That is so essential for everyone to realize that. Say that you had a big success. How do you want to have that be, since that's really a platform? Mm-hmm. And what do you do with that platform now that you stabilize that? Well, then you want to then go use that, like you're climbing a mountain, to push yourself up to the next platform, so that once you can run, you know, a 4-minute 10-second mile, then you want to get a 4-minute 5-second mile, then finally, you know, even less and less. So that's your next experience of your prowess. And what's surprised so many people is that, well, there was this one lady I know, and she had her husband come home after 5 years. I'm sorry, not after 5, but he'd been working for 5 years. And they've been married for, I think, about 7 years, but he'd been working about 5 years to make partner in this law firm. And he was very, very smart guy and very hard driven. And so finally came home after, you know, not home after 5 years, but after working for 5 years, and finally had victory. So he came home with a bottle of champagne one night, and he says, honey, I'm home. And I've got this bottle of champagne. We're going to celebrate. I finally made partner. We're going to start having, you know, all this success. And he says, I've got this for you, and we're going to celebrate. And she says, well, thank you very much. I'm so proud of you. And, you know, you did it. And it's really great. And I have something for you too. And what she gave him was divorce papers. And he went, wait a minute here. You know, I've been doing all this for you all these 5 years. And she said, that's not what I wanted when I married you. I wanted you. I wanted your heart to connect and love me and see the beauty in who we are together. And that, you know, like in the energy relationships, 1 + 1 = 1,000,000. You find your soulmate. We've even done that with people that are, you know, 7 years old who say, I still want to find my soulmate. I go, no problem. And we've got them documented on videotape. They found their soulmate. So finding your soulmate is not finding someone who's going to lean on you. So the results in your life is that there is no limit to your success. And the only thing is you need to encompass all 8 all the time. Otherwise your platform's off. And if you don't have your platform supporting you in all those, then how are you going to be stable with another person? So this one wonderful, hardworking lawyer sort of flubbed the dub in maintaining the relationship part of his, you know, total grade 8. He was working on the financial and maybe his creative, but he certainly wasn't working on the other. So that was a cost. So in physics, like Joe said in the very beginning, you don't really have a lot of, especially in Newtonian physics, you don't have a lot of like questions if rocks are hard and water's wet. I mean, every time you turn on the faucet, you expect the water to be wet and you're going to wash your hands. You don't open the faucet and expect rocks to come out. Physics, there's no rocks coming out of your faucet, or if you do have a rock, it's hard, and unless it's a pumice stone with something, it's not very good to wash your hands with. But the thing is that that's physics. And the other physics is that, well, you know, if you go, you take the elevator down and get out and walk on the street, you know, you get out there pretty easily. If you decide to go up the 8th-story building window and see if you can fly, you're going to test physics and you'll get the same result every time. That's science. You're going to go down and it's going to crash. Every time you throw a piece of paper towards a trash can, unless there's a fan there, it may blow up for a second, but it always goes down. So what if there was physical principles in your body that are easy to learn, that would allow you to keep gapping up and gapping up? Well, what that means is that there isn't something that you have to say, like my client in Japan who said, I've got all these awards and I'm very intelligent and I've been so successful, but my life is boring and I don't like it. And he realized that the other 7 weren't happening for him. And once we lit those up by doing these practices, and you're the ones that do it, I'm not there with you. I'm only there with you in the videos and audios because the vibrations are embedded in there, but your body's the one that's taking it forward, and you're becoming the superstar, and you become the Nobel scientist, and you become the great athlete in the NBA. All of these are real stories about people that have been able to use the material. And I know some people like to reference one of my clients for many, many years is Tony Robbins. And you'll see that on our website. And he's open about this, even a video. And he's wonderful. He and his wife are wonderful people. But what I liked about Tony, and for many years, I was hoping he was going to be the only person who would just demonstrate this energy and represent it and communicate it, but then became such a demand that I'm now out communicating about it, so you can learn from the scientific standpoint. But if you look at him, he's had this kind of life, and then went down, then went higher, and then started down, and then went higher, and kept going higher and higher. So there's very little delay time. So that's what life's about. There really isn't a hover. There's more or less, are you expanding? Or with physics, it's contracting. I don't think you want the contraction part. The contraction part's the matrix, the part about, well, things are, you got to take the lumps with the gravy. That's the way life is. No, what if it's like, no, we figured out a new way. And no, I handled this. And I had this negotiation. And I found out that the other side, there was a way to get win-win-win. And so they came across, even though they were category 3, they came across the table and we shook hands because it works for everybody. Even though they felt they were getting the better deal, we thought we were getting the better deal. And overall, it worked. So we were able to make it happen. So you can make it in the world, even with category 1, 2, 3s, and 4s, once you know the vibrational techniques to do it. But if you look at Tony, he's now going to be a billionaire. I think last time we talked, I think he's close. And he started from scratch, 0. And he actually almost went bankrupt 2 or 3 times. Dave Asprey started, in Silicon Valley, and with so many different talents, didn't know what he's going to do necessarily to express his contribution. And now he's like book after book, course, so many different wonderful things. You can do the same. That's it. But you can't say that you want to just sort of sit back on the couch like Family Guy. Then you're contracting. You're sort of being Homer Simpson. You're not going to really get the joy of life. You're going to go, Bart, what's going on here? Why are you doing badly at school? Well, of course, there's no growth getting from Homer. Homer's a dud. And you don't want to have that dud experience, but it's available at any moment to be a dud. You can just go on the internet. You can talk to some Debbie Downer person, some negative person, or someone who says, life's too tough. Or did you hear what happened to this person? And you're going, really have to hear this? I mean, how does that inspire my life? What if you can turn yourself on at each moment? And that's what all the basketball players have to do when it really gets to, time, it's time. You got to put your game face on each day and actually be able to score to keep getting that great success and keep staying with your team. And your team, I'm hoping you're going to experience, is this wonderful village of human being all over the planet. And I think one of the things Joe's been getting discovered, because we've gone to England, we're going to go to England, I hope, on a conference. And there's other conferences to go to around the world where you keep meeting these wonderful category 1 win-win people. And when I speak to people at the United Nations and for other different huge, contribution groups, they want this to work for everybody. They just don't know how. And just because you drop food off at, some village in Africa or South America, it never gets to the people. because the systems in the way have matrix in them. So what if you had people who are distributors once the food gets dropped off and the meds get dropped off, they actually got to those people, and then we could have so many things be not only less struggle, but actually fun and actually expansion, that you get to say, you know, not only do I feel like I can do it, but I feel like tomorrow I can do one more push-up. And the next day, if I keep doing these techniques, I can get even more healthy. And I can be like, you know, Joe, the pilot at 83, who's, you know, cranking it and flying around. And there's another lady who's in the upper age group that is such a delight. And she came to me and she said, you know, I'm 83 and I have, or 85 and I have no money. I'm on a, you know, definitely confined income. And with these techniques, you know, I don't know if I can even afford to be in this course, even though it doesn't cost that much. And I said, well, if you do the practices, you just text me for the next month and tell me what happens. And she's now stands up in every single course we have. That was like, I don't know, 7 years ago. And she stands up in every course and says, you can do it. If I can do it, and my training in this was so zero, you know, I've of course heard all the wonderful things that we've all heard. And it doesn't matter what your religion is, what your skin color is, what your beliefs are. You can have all those, but your body knows. And this is all about your body taking you forward and supporting you in all these grade eights, so that you can feel what's the right decision for you. And you can see that I do want to do better, because it's fun to be successful. I had one home run. Could I hit one tomorrow? I had a great conversation with my significant other. I wonder if I could have another. I wonder what he or she's doing right now. And all of a sudden you've got this pulling you into life, where you're knowing the other person is going to be contributing to you. And the person you take your belt to get it fixed is going to be this great guy that you're never going to not want to send people to. And the person that you get your Italian food from is never not going to be somebody you want to send everybody you know to. And everybody knows that anybody who meets me, I've got this list of people that I'm always trying to send people to, going, this person's a Fred or a category 1 person for food. This is a great person for getting, you know, a shirt fixed. This is a great person for getting your plumbing. And it's because they're wonderful people. They really are. And they care, and they're not going to rip you off. And wouldn't that be great to go into a world where you didn't think we were going to get ripped off?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. All right. Well, man, this has been awesome. I really appreciate everything that you've done. And I just want to make a comment on the grade 8 again. It is an unbelievable tool, and I think it really is a core element of getting the benefits out of your program. It's a challenge for most people to do. I know it was for me. I didn't really even start doing it consistently every day until almost 2 years into the program, which was in retrospect a serious mistake. So I am hoping you'll learn from my experience and save yourself some time. And we're going to put a copy of the grade here, and you can do it every day. And I want to share one element of that I learned from doing the grade 8 is I was completing it on my daily task list and identifying the relationship wins in that day. I recognized that Dr. B is one of my category 1 friends. And he was all the time. I just never realized it. So thank you for being one of my category 1 friends. You've made an enormous impact on my lives and the lives of tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people around the world. And I admire and respect and am in deep gratitude for your enormous commitment and dedication to bring in this information to help reduce needless pain and suffering. Thank you.
It's been a total pleasure. Thank you for having me here. It's such an opportunity for every human being. I can't wait to see the results. That's what lights me up.